Hello friends, Sumit this side. So this would be the session 2 in this playlist. I have got wonderful feedback from my session 1 and believe me, it means a lot to me. So this will be the session 2 as I mentioned, and if you have not watched session 1, I would highly recommend that first watch that before jumping on to this session. Also, one more thing that you have to remember, you have to be consistent in practicing. It's not that you are just watching the videos without practicing, because without practicing, just seeing the videos is not gonna help you. So without wasting any further time, let's start with session 2. This is the session 2 in the series Learn SQL the Right Way. In the previous session, we talked about how to create a table, we talked about how to get a quick setup done and things like that, which are very basic. Now let's dig a bit deeper into it and let's try understand the CRUD operations. CRUD operations. I think I discussed at a very high level that what is the meaning of CRUD. CRUD stands for create, read, update and delete. Create, read, update, delete. That means when we have created a table, using create we can insert the record. That means creation of new records, which can be done through insert commands, insert statements. Read means once the data is in table, we are reading it. How do we read? Using select statements. Update means updating a record. If some record is already there in table, how do we update? Using update statement. And delete means deleting a record, as the name suggests, and we write delete statements for this. And this is called as CRUD operations, where we can interact with records in a table. So in this session, let's talk more about insert statements, and also we will see various ways in which we can create a table. In the last session, we saw at a very high level that how do we create a basic simple table, but in this session we will explore more. So two things: creation of table and insert statements. This is what we are looking to learn in this session. Okay, so let's get started. Now consider that you are a small startup and you are looking to hire some employees and you want to have an employee table to manage their database. So you are looking to have an employee table, and now you are a Bangalore based startup in India and your preference is to hire more employees from Bangalore. That's what you want. You prefer to hire from Bangalore location. That is one preference that you have, for example. Now, what table structure you can keep? I mean, there can be a lot of fields in this table, but let's keep it simple. We can create a table, for example, create table employee. Okay. So basically, initially we will keep the table structure simple and then we will refine it later. So when you hire employee, employee might have a first name, last name, middle name. Okay, and apart from that, you want to capture the age, salary, and you might capture the location. Let's begin with this. To start with, this is good enough. So create table, table name. Create table is a keyword. That's why it's preferred that you keep it in uppercase. But it's not that if you put it in lowercase, you get error. No. But recommended that you put in uppercase. I mean, but generally speaking, I myself keep it in lowercase. But for your reference, so that you follow right practices, I have kept it in uppercase here. Now, first name, what will be the data type? This is like a string, so it will be varchar. And we can say 255 characters. Ideally 255 not required because we know it won't consume 255 characters, so we can keep it, let's say, 20 characters. Middle name, varchar of 20, last name varchar of 20, because all of this is string type, comma, age, it's numeric, so this will be integer. Salary is also numeric, so it is integer. Location is again varchar, and I will say 20 characters. Good enough. And after this, semicolon. So let me take this and go to my uh, database or the terminal. You know how to reach to this. We are using 𝐽𝐬 ID, and now I will say show databases. Trendytech is available as one of the database. Let me start fresh. What I will do is, just a second, I will just keep it on the right side. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to drop Trendytech and recreate it. So drop database Trendytech. Okay, done. I want to recreate it now. Create database Trendytech. Why I'm doing this? Because I want to start fresh, because there will be some tables which are already there. I want to start a clean slate. Okay. Let me clear the screen, Control L. And when I say show databases, I should be able to see Trendytech as one of the database. I will say use Trendytech, so that I go inside this. It says database change. Okay. Now I say show tables. What do you say? What all tables will we see? There are no tables, then why will we see anything? It's empty. Now let me create the table that we have, the definition we have written. By the way, just for your understanding, this command is called as a DDL command because we are doing something with definition rather than data. This is called DDL, definition. And we see, I'll talk about DDL and DML later, do not worry, but since it came, I just brought that. We have created this table now with all these columns. Looks perfect. Okay, let me clear the screen again and say show tables. I should be able to see employee table. Okay. Now let me see the structure of it. Describe employee. I am able to see first name, middle name, last name, age, salary, location, all the data types, and null yes, default null. I will talk more about it. What does it mean? So there are other things too which we will talk in a while. Now we have created a table which is empty right now. How do you see the data inside a table? Using select command. Select star from employee. There are no records inside it. That's why we see empty set. Okay. Now let me insert some records. How do I do that? Let me go to my favorite notepad and say into employee. That means insert into table name. Now if you follow right practice, make it caps. Insert into employee values. Again, values is a keyword, so you say values. Right? Insert into table name values, and then you give the values. So for example, the values are, let's say, first name can be Kapil, and then second name, let's say Kumar. I'm just randomly giving this. I do not know any person named Kapil Kumar, but still, it's fine here. Last name is Sharma, and then age, let's say 28. Salary, let's say 10,000. Okay, and then apart from that, location we can say, for example, Bangalore. As I said, the company's preference is to hire from Bangalore, so Bangalore. Okay, and then semicolon. So I will take this and run. But let me tell you one good practice, that it is not must, but it is recommended that you give the list of column names here. So for example, insert into employee and then you give this first name, comma, middle name, comma, last name, comma, age, salary, location, values. This is how we should be proceeding. Now let me try running this and see if it works. Done. I am able to insert a record. Now let me go back to my notepad. Let me create one more insert command and I won't put this list here. And let me make slight difference in value. Let's say instead of Kapil, I will say Satish. And let me put this record. Will it work? Yes, it will. But not recommended this way. We should give complete list of columns. Okay. Having understood this, let us try to do a select on this table. I can press up arrow so that I can get the history. And my command that I want to run is select star from employee. And I can see both the records are there. Just have a look. Now what if I do not want to insert data for all columns? Let's say someone do not have a middle name. So let me just go back to my notepad, make a copy of it, or a copy of this rather. And then what I would say here, I do not want to give the middle name because a lot of people do not have a middle name. I do not have, for example, first name, last name, age, salary, location, and this I will remove. And then here I will say Rajesh. Randomly I am giving some names. Salary, let's say Rajesh is a boss. He has a salary of 20,000. Location is Bangalore. Age is, let's say, 32. Just to make the data more realistic, I changed some of the parameters. And I will clear the screen and run this. It is inserted. We have not given the value of middle name. Now, if you would have done the same without bringing this list into play, for example, what I am trying to say, if you try to remove this list and run this, this would definitely give an error. Because when you are not mentioning the list of column names, then you should be giving all or the values for all columns. In your table, you expect how many values? 6, but you are giving 5. So this will throw me an error. Let me show you that. Column count doesn't match value count at row 1. That means if you are doing it this way, you are expected to give value for all the columns. You cannot leave any of them. Okay. So we understood that this value or this insert does not work and that's why it's not inserted. Let me do a select star again. And this is the last record which worked. And the middle name shows null. That means when we do not give value for anything, it goes as null. You might be wondering what is null. Is it 0 or is it no value? Null is basically undefined. You cannot say that it is 0 or you cannot say that there is no value like that. You say that we do not know. We cannot treat it like a 0 or something. Basically, it's like unknown, I would say. The value of it is unknown. So this is how this works. Just have a look at these statements, what I have written. Okay, fine. Now, what if, let's say, uh, let's say for any reason, you want to have some single quote inside name. Ideally, name would not have, that's not the right example, but let's say you are having some column where there is a requirement that you want to put a single quote as a value. For example, in Rajesh, let's say I have to do something like this. Will it work? Now, will it work? So first of all, let me give a list of column names, because I am not putting all the values. That's why I should be mentioning explicitly the column names. Now, will it work? No, because you can see this single quote is getting closed here and this becomes extra. Let me try running it and showing you that this is not expected to work. You can see this, that somehow the structure is all messed up. It's expecting me and then it gives some error and all, because it's not closing the single quotes properly. Then how do you tackle this scenario? Okay, so what you should do is, there are basically two ways. Instead of single quotes, if you give this double quotes, this will work, because single quote you can replace with double quotes, it's not an issue. So this double quote which is starting at the beginning is getting ended here, and that's why this single quote becomes part of value, and this should not give any issues. Let me try running it. You can see this has worked, and let me fire the select command. You can see this value. I hope this is clear. Now I would show one more way to do the same, or to achieve the same. What you can do is, let's say you want to use single quote only, for example, and then you want to use it, you can give a backslash. Backslash acts as, I mean, I would say, when you are giving a backslash, it will understand that next character I have to consider, right? So basically, we say it as a escape character, so that this will be treated as a value now. So let me show uh, this also, that this will work. So you can see this is working. Same way the way we did previously. I hope this is clear. So this should be pretty much clear till now. Okay. So now let's see that how do we insert multiple values in one go. For example, let me go to this one. Let me copy this. And consider I want to insert more values. Let's say this one record is Kapil, another record can be Satish and all. I want to insert. What I can do is, I can give a comma, and then I can give the record here Satish, let's say Kumar, let Sinha, any random name, age 30, and then salary 20,000, city Bangalore. Now if I do this, if I take this and run, this should work. Okay, somewhere I have messed up with the single quotes. I will check. This will give me error anyways. So let me quickly check. Okay, so this is not ending. Satish Kumar Sinha. This fine. Let me take this. Done. And now, if I do a select star, it should be able to show me that Satish Kumar Sinha and Kapil Kumar Sharma, both are inserted. So in this case, I have shown that how I inserted two records in one go. You can do 10 records, 20 records. So this is like bulk insert. I hope this is clear. Okay. So we have understood how to write normal insert, and we how to write a multiple insert. How do we enter the value of single quote? Same way we can enter the value of double quotes also. If double quote is also coming as a value, then we can do it. How we can enter double quote? You can give single quote here, and then give double quote here. This will work. Or you give a backslash also. This will also work. Anything is fine. Okay. So let's proceed. So next in our list is, what if you have a data type mismatch? For example, uh, let me take this only. And you remember that first name, middle name, last name, we say 20 characters. What if we are trying to give more than 20? Ideally, it won't be more than 20, but let's say for some reason it is more than 20. Let's say I'm making it this way, right? And now let me try running it. Data too long for column first name at row 1. This is what it shows. Why? Because it could hold 20 characters as per our definition that we have given. But now we are trying to enter something more. That's why it's not taking. And same will be the case with even age. For example, let me now reduce this, and age, instead of uh, numeric, let me make it string, 20. Let's say. Will it work? No. Let me show that. Incorrect integer value 20 for column age, because it's expecting a numeric value and you are giving a varchar or a string. That's why it has not worked. You can see here. Okay, so I hope we are good, and you see that how strict is the database, that it won't allow you to enter wrong things. That's why the integrity and all is quite well maintained in a database. Fine. Now let's talk about more things. Let's talk about null. What is null? As I said, null means something which is unknown. For example, middle name, not everyone will have. That's why it can be null. But can the first name be null? No. In our case, I mean, we can still enter no value for first name and it will take as null, which is wrong. What I'm trying to say is, for example, if I do this insert, first name I'm removing, and uh, first name I'm removing, and then just doing this. Ideally, this will work. So, but instead of this 20, I will make it 20 like this. Yeah. Technically, this will work. But is it correct? We have to understand that. Select star from employee. We can see first name is coming as null. In what actual scenarios will the first name be null? Right? None of the cases. So we should not allow null value for such things where we should not allow. I mean, it's not that we give a freedom that anything can be entered as null. That's wrong. Right? So let me structure this table well so that no one can enter null value for first name. Let's do that. So what I would do first is, I'll drop this table. Drop table employee. Okay. Now I want to recreate it. Let me take this definition and tweak it slightly. So create table employee, first name varchar 20. Can it be null? No. So what we need to say, not null. That means null values are not allowed for this. Middle name, definitely it can be null. By default, it is nullable. So we do not have to mention anything. Last name, of course, I do not want this to be null because a person should have a last name also. Of course, age should be entered without any second thought. I mean, it cannot be null. Salary also we should enter, so it cannot be null. Location, definitely it has to be not null. Only middle name in this can be null. Other than that, all fields are compulsory. That's what we are trying to say. Let's try to run this now. Done. We have created a better definition than the previous one by putting the right constraints into play. so that no one can enter null values for things where we should not be entering null. Now let me see the structure of this table. DESC employee. So we can see that first name is null allowed? No. Middle name is null allowed? Yes. Last name? No. Age? No. Salary? No. Location? No. That means now at least this is correct. Just have a look at this. What create table definition we have given. I hope this is fine. Now, if you try entering a record where first name is null, it won't allow you. Let me try running the same, and this won't work. Earlier it worked, but now this will say field first name doesn't have a default value. Do not worry about what it's saying, but why this error we have got is because it is or it cannot be null. I hope this is clear. Just have a look at this create table definition here. Okay, but still middle name can be null now. We can ignore that. Fine. Now let's talk about default values. The next concept is about default values. Now consider this thing, that this location, as we know, we intend to hire mostly people from Bangalore. That was the first preference we have mentioned at the very starting. If I go up, we said you prefer to hire from Bangalore. That means whatever mostly you will be entering will be people from Bangalore location. So why do we have to always mention Bangalore? If we do not mention and it takes Bangalore by default, won't that be great? Because 95% of the population you are hiring is from Bangalore, then why do you have to explicitly mention? You say that if I do not mention, consider it as Bangalore by default. Otherwise, I will mention if it is something else. Makes sense, right? So let's try to get that model. So what I would do is, I will drop this table employee. Okay, and I would create it with new definition, which is again a better definition than the previous one. Create table employee, first name, that's fine, middle name, last name, age, salary, location, and this location, what I would say is, I would say default Bangalore. And small, let me give. Okay, this is what I am trying to do. Just have a look. Now what I would do, I will create this table definition and I will show you describe table employee. Oops, what happened? Create table TESC table name. Let me just check. What table I have created? Create table employee, first name, middle name, last name, age, salary, location. Looks good only. Table already exists. Okay, describe employee. So it's not describe table name, describe table name, right? So you can see by default the value is Bangalore here. That means if you do not give anything, it will be Bangalore. I hope this is clear. Now let me try inserting some records in this. I will pick some records from here and we'll try inserting. Let me just pick something from here. Okay. Now what I want is, let me remove the middle name because it can be still null. So just want to show this also. So first name, last name, age, salary, location. First name is Kapil, last name is Sharma. Age is 28, salary is 10,000, location I do not want to again give. Now in this case, what do you expect? What will be the middle name? It should be Null. And what should be the location? It should be Bangalore. Let's see. Okay, and I will say select star from employee. Kapil, Null, Sharma, 28, 10,000 Bangalore. By default, the value is Bangalore. As we said, out of 100 people whom we are hiring, 95 are from Bangalore. Then why to explicitly enter? By default, system will consider it as Bangalore. But by chance, a rarest of rare case, if someone is hired from Hyderabad, Chennai, we can mention. How? Let's see. It's straightforward again. We can say this location, and then we can mention the location. Let's say Hyderabad. So let's run this, and then when we see the records, you will be able to see Hyderabad. But by default, the value is Bangalore. I hope this should make sense. Okay. So this is how default values work. Even for age you can do, I mean if it is logically feasible for you. So this is how you can give any number of default values for any column. I mean for each column it will be one default value, but you can give it for multiple columns. Fine. Now in this case, I mean let me just again describe the table. You can see this location field or column has a default value, and is it nullable? Yes. Right? Is it nullable? Yes. That means when we are not giving any value, it's Bangalore. But what we can do in this case, we can manually set the value as null. This permits us because it is nullable. So for example, what I am trying to say, null is allowed basically for this. So we can manually set this value as null if it is unknown. This is what I am trying to convey. Let's say here the name is Rajesh. So as per the current definition, null is allowed, and you can set null like this. Let me run this, and let me say select star from employee. You can see here Rajesh, middle name is null and location is null. If we would have not given anything, it would have taken Bangalore. Otherwise, we could specify, and null is also allowed. If we want to restrict this null, then we have to make it not null. So let me quickly drop this table definition and recreate it very quick. Drop table employee, and now I would recreate it. I will just copy this, and then I will say not null. That means null won't be even allowed manually then. Done. And now if I try to insert the same thing, it won't work for sure. It says column location cannot be null. So that is where you can combine not null and default. Right? If I do not give anything, it would have taken as Bangalore. If I remove this, now this worked. And when I say select star, you can see this. By default, it's Bangalore, and you cannot set as null explicitly also. So this is where a combination of, combination combination of not null and default. This is what we have seen just now. And you might be wondering that how does both of it make sense together. So I explained a scenario where manually we were able to set it as null, but if we do not want to allow it, we can again do this combination, not null and default. So let's see what all have we covered. So what all have we covered? Just recall, we have covered what are CRUD operations: create, read, update, delete. Create means inserting a record, read means select statement, U means update statement, D means delete statements, right? In this session, we talked about simple inserts, multiple inserts. We talked about data type mismatch. Apart from that, we talked about what is null and not null, null and not null. For example, middle name can be null, but first name should not be null. So we can define those constraints. We talked about default values. Okay. We talked about combination of not null and default, not null and default, where we do not want someone to explicitly also set the value as null, right? For example, for example, location. We do not want it to be set as null in any case, and we want default value as Bangalore. So friends, I hope you liked the session. Whether you have liked or not liked, do let me know in the comment section, because that will help me to incorporate that feedback in order to make the sessions better for you. If you have not subscribed to my channel, do subscribe and do not forget to press the bell icon so that you are updated with the new updates. Thank you. Let's meet in the next section.